Let's talk a little bit about those struggles in Wheaton. The area has certainly changed over the last few years, and prices are going up for everybody. Rent, buying property for businesses, for leases. Do you see that changing the landscape in Wheaton, where eventually the primarily Hispanic population that currently lives in Wheaton will be displaced over the years?
That's probably the biggest concern that I hear from our local business owners. And this is something that we've been talking about for years because you have to understand the redevelopment of Wheaton right now as it stands is pretty much the office building, Maryland National Capital Parking Planning, and a town plaza that they built. So they got rid of the huge parking lot that we had and they put up a building. That's what, is supposed to be the start of the economic development. Obviously, with the pandemic, there's been a lot of hiccups, and we have right now a building that's beautiful. It's LEED Platinum. It's one of the greenest buildings in the region, but it's pretty much empty right now. So right now, as it stands, there's no economic development. But one of the biggest things that we feared is what happened in downtown Silver Spring. When downtown Silver Spring was redeveloped, they just everybody was kicked out. All the small business owners were kicked out of that area. And it's something that, we knew was going to happen in Wheaton if we didn't take steps to prevent that. So to the credit of, the current council member, Nancy Navarro, she passed the Small Business Assistance Program, which they knew the building construction was going to take 3 years. And the parking was going to be removed from all of those local businesses for 3 years. So what they did is they created a program where if you could prove a loss directly related to that loss of parking, you could ask for a grant for the difference of the revenue for the previous year. And what that did was it saved all those businesses. This is a bill that I testified for back in 2012. It was Bill 612. And that's, if you ask the local owners there, the majority of them, qualified for it and they got it, they applied for it. But there were some growing pains to that. They hired LEDC because there was a barrier with the language. A lot of the businesses there were Latino. So once LEDC came in, it kind of changed everything. So going forward, I'm talking a little bit about the past, the history of where, how we got where we are. We are seeing some challenges right now. When people's leases are coming up right now, we're seeing some people being asked for a 30% increase in their rent, because they think, oh, we have redevelopment. So there's more, money coming into the area, and there really isn't right now, but obviously these small businesses are already being taxed. So this is a challenge that we saw coming, and we still are kind of at the beginning of that. So it's something that we still have to really work to make sure that we can, maintain these businesses. So it's going to be a challenge going forward. And obviously for me, that's going to be, I think, one of my biggest challenges because I'm so passionate about small business. So I want to make sure that we work with our small business owners, we work with our landlords, and honestly, work with the county from this county side to make sure that we don't lose the character. There is no other place in the county that compares to Wheaton. I mean, everybody has their own charm, but Wheaton is one of the most diverse areas in the entire, as far as small business goes. We have East African, we have Haitian, we have Caribbean, we have Bolivian, Salvadoran, Honduran, we have Nepalese, we have, Ethiopian. I mean, the whole entire world is represented in Wheaton, and it's something that we are trying hard to maintain.
Indeed. There are several initiatives particularly in Wheaton. Everybody has ideas on how to make Wheaton better. Mm-hmm. More pedestrian friendly, more bike friendly, make it an open mall, so to speak, on Georgia Avenue, I'm sorry. How do you see these initiatives? Some of them come from other county council candidates or maybe county executive candidates and organizations, nonprofits. Obviously, everybody has a saying. Do you think these initiatives, if you are elected as a council member, will have a positive effect as they are intended to make it more walkable, more pedestrian friendly, or whether this is going to add gasoline to the fire that we have of increasing taxes and increasing prices, and then eventually leading to displacement of communities in Wheaton.
Now, I think the one of the biggest challenges is walkability. Like, it's pedestrian safety. I mean, we have people dying. I mean, I'm just say it crudely. I mean, people are being murdered on our streets, several a year, and you see it all the way to Aspen Hill, Glenmont. And what that does is people will not come to Wheaton to walk around. And honestly, when you create that environment where people feel safe walking around, it leads to economic development because people will walk around and visit other shops. They may go to eat, but they'll walk down and get a cupcake, or they'll go to the bank, or they go to the bank and then they end up going to get a cup of coffee, or or Ooh La La Bakery, or a Sabor Latino Bakery. You have several options. But the problem is right now when you come to Wheaton, you park your car in one little section, and then you drive to the next one because you don't feel safe walking. So it's a multifaceted, solution. It's not just one thing, but definitely the walkability of Wheaton to me is one of the, the most difficult aspects of this. And the reason it's so difficult, honestly, just working for so many years on pedestrian safety, is that we are intersected by three major highways. We're intersected by Georgia Avenue, by University Boulevard, and by Beersmill Road. So whenever we want to make a change, it's been a battle with the state. But I will say there's been a lot of leeway that has been made lately. And I've worked with Jared Solomon, Emily Shetty, the District 18, who that pertains to, Al Carr and Jeff Wallstreicher, Senator Jeff Wallstreicher, to try to make sure that we work on that relationship between us and Maryland, State Highway Administration. But I think until we make Wheaton a destination, we're never going to see that economic development. And honestly, I think to me, in my personal opinion, that's going to be my biggest challenge, is actually making Wheaton a destination and putting Wheaton on the map. And I will tell you one thing that I've been working for a long time. I'm on the board of Wheaton Wonders, who's in charge of the Wheaton Arts Parade, which I was a part of the creation of that. That came out of the Wheaton Urban District Advisory Committee. Now it's a annual event in September, for the arts community, because we're an arts district. So we've been fighting to get a multicultural arts center in Wheaton, and it's in process. Eventually we're going to have to vote to get the budget, to get the funding to create the center. But that center, to me, is something that's going to draw people to Wheaton. There's nothing. We don't have hotels here, so we don't have conferences here. We don't have theaters. We don't have anything big that a lot of the other major areas like Bethesda, Rockville, they have. And until we create that, we're not going to have anything. Right now, the only thing that we're banking on is the Marion Fryer Town Plaza. We hope that we have events there that are going to draw people in. But honestly, it's very limited as to how many people you can put. And layout, it's right next to the metro. So there are challenges that we have. But I think we need to have something that's going to draw people to Wheaton. Because honestly, right now, people work in DC. A lot of people do. They live in Wheaton, but they're leaving their dollars down in DC. And that does not help us, whatsoever. And we also, another thing we have to do is concentrate on making sure that we maintain these businesses. The majority of the business owners that are in Wheaton live here in Montgomery County. Our tax dollars are staying here. These business owners are paying for property taxes on their houses. Like, that money stays here. When we support these small businesses that have, invested for sometimes 30, 40 years or 60 years, like Filippo's Deli in Wheaton, Filippo lives in Rockville. His tax dollars are staying here. And we need to make sure that we invest in these small business owners.